Hey everybody, and welcome back to the internet. So, yeah, you read the title right. This is going to be my last storytelling video that I do. But don't worry, because I'm not going anywhere. So I think it's been made pretty clear lately that I've just been getting really bored of these story videos. I mean, there's a lot of days where I'm just really not in the mood to even make the video, but I just keep pushing through it just to stay consistent. And, yeah, I'm just kind of tired of it all. I mean, the stories are very repetitive, plus there's like 100 other channels I'm trying to compete with, and everybody's just reading the same stories. And my audience has just been continuing to get smaller and smaller over time, so I think that it's time that I move on to something new, and try something that I actually enjoy. So my plan is I want to produce sort of like a higher quality comedy type videos, you know, just general internet commentary, because you know there's more to the internet than just stories. But yeah, I'd really like to focus on quality over quantity. For those of you who've just been here for the stories, it's been great having you, but for those who want to stick around, we're just getting started. Anyways, to finish off my storytelling era, I've gone through and pulled all of my favorite stories from all of the videos I've ever made. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but get ready for a marathon. I hope my voice can hold up. Alright, we're going to start the first of 36 stories with, today I effed up by telling my girlfriend to go right. So my girlfriend and I were playing Mario Party 7 for the first time ever. Awful game, by the way. Anyways, as most of you probably know, you can pick what direction your character travels around the map. The girlfriend, in third place with nearly 100 coins, is making her way around the map. The star was right in front of her at the crossroads. As she approached the crossroad to pick up the star, I sarcastically suggested she go right, which she immediately did. I have never seen anyone so angry in my life, and I've worked both as nightclub security and loss prevention in my time. Nor have I ever been so afraid. She ended the game with 0 stars. "I will kill you in your sleep," she stated. The rest of the game was spent in dread. It's now 3 AM, and I'm hiding in the bathroom typing this while she makes serial killer noises. Goodbye. TLDR, Mario Party 7 is a terrible game. Yeah, watch out for Mario Party, it's the game that ruins friendships. Now we've got, only $5? Oh, sorry, my mistake. So this happened earlier today. I had dropped my daughter off at an event, and had about 90 minutes to kill. So I decided to head one town over to pick up a few geocaches that had been taunting me. After my second cache hunt, I parked across the street from a little bodega to see where I should try my luck next. As I'm going through the nearby geocaches on my phone, I notice a man begging for money from passerbys outside the bodega. I found a likely cache, then decided to buy a bottle of water at the bodega. So I drive a 2010 Chrysler 300C all-wheel drive. I inherited the car from my mother when she passed away in December of 2017. It's not the type of car that I would buy for myself, but it runs well and I have few complaints about it, so I drive it. I left my car, crossed the street, and sure enough the guy asked me for some money, for some food. I was feeling generous and it was a nice day, so I reached into my wallet and handed him a $5 bill. Given the neighborhood, the odds were good that he'd use it for drugs, but whatever. I went inside, bought my water, and left. As I walked out, the man stopped me. He said, "Hey brother, you got anything else for me?" I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "I mean, you must have lots of money, driving that big car of yours." I said, "Didn't I just give you $5? He says, "Yeah man, but that's chump change. I'll bet you got plenty more on you right now." I say, "So you'd rather have something other than the $5 I gave you?" He says, "Yeah, how about it?" So I say, "Sure thing. Where's the 5 I gave you?" He hands me back the $5 bill. I take it and say, "I don't know what I was thinking. I'm so sorry." I put the $5 bill back in the wallet and pocket the wallet. Have a great day. And with that, I turned and went back to my car. I was about halfway across the street when the guy started yelling at me. I turned and waved, more to make sure he wasn't chasing after me than to goad on him. But he just stood there yelling racist comments at me. By the time I got in my car and pulled away, he just standing on the street cursing me out. I waved and left. What did we learn? Beggars can't be choosers. Just take what you can get and move along. Now this is a green tech story from one of my old videos. So my parents are having my aunt and uncle and my 8-year-old cousin over for Thanksgiving dinner one year. They arrive and my cousin immediately runs into the room with a claw hammer and smashes a hole in the wall with it. My parents freak out and ask what the heck he's doing. My aunt and uncle are laughing, explaining it's just a phase he's going through where he likes to smash things with hammers. We ask them why the heck they allowed him to have a friggin' steel hammer if he's smashing things with it. Well, when he doesn't have the hammer, then he threatens to swallow a bowl full of nails. Jeez. All throughout the friggin' meal, the kid is smashing his food with a friggin' hammer and making chunks and bits of meat fly everywhere. So I'm talking to my aunt and uncle about stupid crap and notice my cousin has just gone into my room. I immediately bolt it to my door. When I get there, I see him with the hammer and a stack of games next to my computer. I rush in, tackle him, take the hammer, throw him out of my room, and hide the games. While I'm hiding my games, I hear screams from everyone outside my room. I check out what's happening. My cousin has just freaking jumped into the fireplace and set himself on fire. Oh man, what the effing F. My aunt and uncle see me with the hammer in my hand. They say, "Why did you do it? Why did you take the friggin' hammer away?" My cousin goes to the hospital and lives, but with severe burns. never see my aunt and uncle again. At least he didn't touch my freaking video games. I mean, let's be honest, we all have that side of the family. No, we don't. Next we've got, I refuse to say no to my child, so I'll use octopus. So a few years ago, I worked at a toy store. It's in an area where conservative meets alternative, so it's a mishmash of parenting styles and behaviors from the kids. One interaction that stuck in my mind was a mother who looked like she rubbed a magical bong 3 times and wished for the grainy genie to teleport her and her beatnik-looking kid from Woodstock 69 to the 21st century. Within 2 seconds of entering, the kid flies to the front counter where we keep all the dollar toys. Stamps, rubber balls, fidget spinners, slinkies, those kinds of toys. He starts pulling out a pair of wooden airplanes from the shelf and begins a pretend dogfight. The mother flips out and I could tell she wants to take the toys off him but is restraining herself. Instead, she just says, "Octopus, octopus," over and over again. It sounded like a command. At first, I assumed she named her kid Octopus. She was alternative, after all. However, after she then said the name Snoopy, I realized that the kid's name was not Octopus, but we also didn't stock any aquatic animal toys where Snoopy was playing. The mother notices me watching from behind the register and she looks at me apologetically. She says, "I'm sorry, he keeps touching the toys when I told him he could look around only." I wasn't mad. Kids are kids and plenty of them go nuts when they enter a toy store. I say, "Oh, was he looking for an octopus toy?" Snoopy stops playing, just looks at me, and the mother quickly hushes me and gets real close. She says, "I'm trying to raise my boy with positive words. The real word is so negative, and I'm substituting it for octopus." I say, "What real word?" She lowers her voice to a whisper. She's panicking that the answer might be overheard and undo 5 years of parenting, and transform her son into a rebel that protects the establishment. She says, 14th letter followed by the 15th letter. It took me a bit to realize octopus was used instead of no. This kid is going to have a weird time at the marine section in the zoo. Man, what's the point of teaching your kid an alternate word to a regular word? I mean, you're not going to stop him from using it, you're just going to make him say a different word. Alright, now we've got, family assumes my driveway is a free parking spot. So this happened to me a few years ago. I had recently moved to the north of Scotland, where I now live, and was staying with my mom and stepdad while getting a house sorted. They went away on holiday for a fortnight, so missed all the fun. I came home from work one afternoon to find a car blocking the driveway in the house. Having a small car, I parked at the top of the driveway, blocking them in. My parents live out in the sticks on a single-track road, so I couldn't leave my car where it was because I would have been blocking the road. After an hour, I saw someone approaching the drive and taking pictures of my car. I went out and confronted them, and the conversation went like this. He's like, "Why are you taking pictures of my car?" He says, "Because you're parked illegally and blocking my car in. I'm going to call the police if you don't move your car from my neighbor drive." I say, "This is clearly my parents' drive. Did you not think it was odd to walk out of someone's garden to get into the neighbor?" They say, "Well, it wasn't very clear, so can you move so I can get out?" So I get my keys and move, then park my car and think nothing of it. The next morning, I leave for work, and once again I find the same car parked in my parents' driveway. This time I knock on my neighbor's door and ask him to get his friend to shift it. Only for my neighbor to ask, "What friend?" I pointed to the car and told him about what happened yesterday. Turns out the Pratt wasn't his friend at all, but liked to walk around the woodland path near our houses. 20 minutes later, he finally appears, smirks, and moves before saying, "I'll be parked here tomorrow too." So once again, I go to work at stupid o'clock, and when I get back, lo and behold, the Pratt has parked there again. This time I decided to teach him a lesson. I had 2 days off, so I went to the shops and got some shopping and a rather large amount of alcohol. I got home, parked as close to his car as I could, making sure I was safely off the road. I went inside, made some dinner, and started drinking. About an hour later, there's a banging on the door. I say, "Yes?" He says, "Move your car, it's blocking me in and my family want to go home." I look out and there's his rather embarrassed looking family sitting in their car. I say, "Sorry, can't," as I took another drink from my cider. "Been drinking for a couple hours, probably over the limit, so I don't want to risk it." He says, "What? Why are you drinking when you knew I'd be wanting to move my car?" I say, "Well, I'm off for the next 2 days, so I fancied a drink." He says, "I'm calling the freaking police." I say, "You do that," before shutting the door and popping into the lounge to watch TV while also watching them through the window. About 2 hours later, the police arrived and speak to the entitled people before they knock on my door. I say, "Yes, officers, how can I help?" The police say, "Why are you stopping these people from leaving?" So I began to explain the events of the previous days and mentioned how I'd told them he couldn't park here. I also explained that I had been drinking and was probably over the limit, so I couldn't risk moving my car. The police officers agreed that I was correct to not drive while intoxicated. They then asked what insurance I had. I pointed out that it was name driver only. Basically means that the only people whose name is on the insurance can drive my car. So they couldn't move it for me. They say, "Come on, just make him move his car." The police say, "Just going to get a breathalyzer. Blow into this, please." "Yep, you're about 2 times over the legal limit, so I'm sorry, but you can't move your car." And then they say, "Sorry, but he's over the limit. You'll have to leave your car here and come back tomorrow." He says, "What? But how are we meant to get home?" I say, well, the bus stop about 2 miles down the road. You'll get the bus to city at this time, or this other town at this time. He says, but the bus doesn't go anywhere near where we live. Cop says, well, we can call you a taxi if you want, but you'll need to pay for it. He says, he did this deliberately. I said, yep. Fast forward to the next day, the police arrive with him in their car, and before they can ask me to move my car, they decided to have some fun. The cop says, we just wanted to check you with the breathalyzer again. Big deep breath. The entitled guy is looking more and more worried. They say, you're fine. Can you move your car, please? I say, of course, officers. Then the police say to the guys, don't park your car here ever again. The guy couldn't even look at me. He just got in his car and drove off. Later that day, I decided to build a gate for my parents. I mean, yeah, why would you ever park in somebody else's driveway? It's kind of weird. Alright, 5 stories down. Let's keep going. So a guy I knew in college met a girl online and spent every day talking about her. She lived about 6 hours away, so he planned to take a semester off and pursue this relationship. He got a job in her town and asked if I'd help him move out there, since my car would hold a lot more than he could take on a bus. I had a long weekend off and figured, why not? A road trip could be fun. I'd drive him out as a goodbye present, and then on the way back I planned to visit Yellowstone. Well, we arrived, and it turns out he doesn't have an apartment lined up, and he found a job posting in his girlfriend's town. He hadn't actually gotten the job, or even applied yet. I made a bunch of phone calls and find him a room to rent that will let him move in that day with just first, last, and deposit, even without a job. I'm tired and disgusted with his lack of planning, but figure it's worth staying the night and trying to end things on good terms with my buddy. Then he breaks down and confesses that he hasn't actually met this girl. The nights he spent video chatting with her were really just him watching her vlog and jacking it. They've never talked, never texted, never even emailed. Heck, he's never even left so much as a comment or like on one of her videos. She genuinely didn't, and still doesn't, know he existed. His plan was to hang out at this game shop she talks a lot about until she showed up, and somehow create a relationship from that. He thought that they'd meet and she'd fall in love with him and move back into our college town and marry him. All before the next semester began. That didn't happen. Instead, I made my buddy buy a bus ticket for his ride back to school and left. He came back to school and got more cringy, not less. I lost track of him after that. Man, don't fall for the Twitch thoughts, guys. It's not worth it. So one time I perpetrated a reality glitch on my girlfriend. So I was in college. I walked my girlfriend to a bus stop that takes her to a building that her classroom is in. It's a big college. She gets on the bus. I start sprinting towards a bike I had placed hours earlier at the bike rack. I look behind me as I ride away. The bus doesn't leave until about 30 seconds after I take off. I make it to the building, which is about a mile away. Quickly lock bike up and just go inside the doorway of the building. I see the bus approaching. I walk outside and just happen to run into my girlfriend. I say, hey, what's up? She is very visibly shaken and asks how I got there. I explain that I had to use the building's computer lab after class and was just leaving. She says that she was just talking to me 3 minutes ago. I just roll my eyes, chuckle, and walk away. I later learned that she had a panic attack and threw up in the bathroom. I haven't told her what really happened to this day. Man, that's the kind of prank that I would pull on somebody. So I was doing tech support over the phone for an internet company at a call center. I got a call from an elderly woman because her internet stopped working. After checking remotely that the modem was working and that there was no issues on her area, I scheduled a visit from one of our technicians when she suddenly says, "Oh, I know what happened. The cat was playing around the router yesterday." I say, "Right, you think it took the cable or something?" She says, "No, he probably took away the Wi-Fi." I say, "You mean like he moved the router?" She says, No, he probably took the airwaves of the Wi-Fi. You know how cats can see things we can't? He surely saw the Wi-Fi signal, grabbed it, and took it away. It took all my willpower not to laugh in her face and finish the call. Well, luckily I'm hardwired into the internet, so my cat cannot steal my Wi-Fi. Next we got, want me to answer every call? Sure thing, enjoy your wait. So part of my job involves taking calls from the public to offer various types of support. This can range from tech support to helping people find services in our country that they need. My team is me and one other person. Between us, we have to cover 7:30 to 19:30, Monday through Friday, and weekends as well. Because of this, and the fact that the company won't invest in call waiting for us, we can only take one call at a time. Our voicemail quite clearly states that we are a small team, but if you leave your name and number, we aim to get back to you within 5 minutes. Normally, people are rather understanding of our situation and are happy to wait for us to call them back. But, as the world is full of impatient a-holes, we often get voicemails just criticizing us. Now, this happened today, and I've been wanting to react this way for a long time and finally got the opportunity to. So the a-hole caller leaves a voicemail saying, "This is bloody ridiculous. I was told to call this number, but what's the effing point in telling people to call if there's no one answering the phone?" She calls again. I say, "Hello, you're through to company name. Me speaking. How can I help?" She says, "Oh, so now you answer the phone. What's the point of having a number if you never answer in?" I say, did you leave us a voicemail? I just listened to it, but unfortunately you didn't leave me any contact details, so I was unable to return your call. Thank you for calling back. How can I help? She says, you should answer every call that comes through. I say, well, unfortunately, there are only 2 people on my team, including myself, and there tends to be only one of us in at a time, so if I answered every call, I'd end up having to keep putting people on hold, and that really doesn't seem fair. Regardless, though, you're through at the moment, and I'm happy to help however I can. She says, you can help me by doing your job and answering the phone when it rings. So at this point, I'm like, F you, lady, so sod it, I'll comply. So I say, okay, sure, I'm sorry that I've annoyed you. I'll make sure to answer the phone whenever it rings. Now, how can I help? She starts to describe her problem. The phone rings. I say, oh, I'm sorry, the phone is ringing. I'll have to place you on hold. She says, wait, hold. I then help the person calling, taking my sweet, sweet time, like going above and beyond just to keep this other lady waiting. Plus, you know, it's nice to help people. I take her off hold. I say, thanks for your patience. Now you were saying? She says, how dare you put me on hold? Especially... Oh, I'm sorry, the phone is ringing. I'll have to place you on hold. You can see where this goes. I think I managed to keep this going for about 15 to 20 minutes before she hung up, and I'm in for the next 10 hours. Man, I hope she calls back. Man, it's always great when you get to tell off crappy customers. Next one is, police have been notified. So I posted a used laptop for $150. I get an email from a guy next town over, which is about a 45-minute drive. He says, $50, but you gotta deliver it to me. I don't reply because it's a pretty lowball offer, and I have a low tolerance for stupid buyers. And then 2 days later, they say, I knew it was a scam. Police have been notified. So let me get this straight. You want me to deliver a laptop to you 45 minutes away for less than half my asking price, and I have to pay for gas, and the police would care why exactly? Because he's a choosing beggar, that's why you gotta do whatever they say. Alright, now this next story is one that seemed to be pretty popular with a lot of viewers. It's called Crazy Entitled Aunt and the Italian Restaurant. So my immediate family was, for the most part, perfectly normal and boring. We were not prone to outbursts and tantrums. It was very calm and quiet. Everyone got along, and we were pretty happy with our boredom. I tell you that so you understand that I had absolutely no experience at all with people prone to screaming fits. You should also know that I suffer from a case of terminal morbid curiosity. I also don't give a crap. Never did. Never saw the fun in it. This happened when we were visiting for a great aunt's funeral. I was 12. My crazy aunt insisted that we all go to dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant. It was just the best. She said so, and she was never wrong. The gimmick here was that there was a little flag of Italy on the table. When you want more dinner rolls, you raise the flag. This is important. Flag up, you get rolls. Flag down, no rolls. Remember that. So the 6 of us are seated. They take our drink order and bring the bread basket. The cast has a new member. PU for my poor, long-suffering uncle, who will one day be made a saint for being married to my crazy aunt for over 20 years. So it started with the drink order. My crazy aunt says, we will have 5 sweet teas. My dad says, I'll have a Coke. My mom says she'll have a Coke. I say tea with no sugar, which is a mortal sin in the South. My crazy aunt says, don't be silly. You can't have sweet tea without sugar. I say, I don't like sugar. She says, that's stupid. Bring her sweet tea. The waitress winks at me. Yes, ma'am. So my uncle says, I think I'd like a Coke as well. And then Emily says, I'd like a Coke. My aunt says, we drink Pepsi, not Coke. We're having sweet tea. The waitress brought us over our requested drinks, and my aunt was growing agitated. So she likes to control everything and everyone. So she told us what to order for dinner. I'm not going to get into the ethical debate here, but I refused to eat veal. She demanded that we all have veal. I refused. I knew this would set her off, but oh well. I'm not eating veal. My parents, after I had explained to them years earlier why I would not eat veal, refused to eat it as well. Did I mention I get my I don't give a crap quality from my parents? Well, they didn't give a crap either. They were perfectly capable of ordering whatever the heck they wanted. So they did. I had lasagna. It was good. My mother's was better. So once we ordered what we wanted, it emboldened my uncle, and he stepped out of line and ordered something else as well. My aunt was not having it. She says, you're getting the veal. He says, no, I feel like something else tonight. The veal is the best. No, I still want something else. You won't like it. I'm sure I will. You don't know what you're talking about. I know what I like. Well, you can't have it. Yes, I can. I said no. Well, I'm ordering it. You always get the veal. Because it's your favorite and you make me. I don't even like Italian food. Yes, you do. It's your favorite. I want the lasagna. Dang it, Uncle. Order what I tell you to order. He says, nah, the lasagna. Then Emily says, I'll have the lasagna too. You can't have that. You're allergic. He says, no, I'm not. I'm your mother. I know what you can and can't eat. She tells the waitress, bring her the veal. The whole time this is going on, I'm looking from one to the other like watching a tennis match, back and forth, while the pitch of her voice gets more and more shrill with each sentence. I was fairly certain that when we left, bats would have been summoned. I'm just watching them and eating a dinner roll. The food arrives and everyone got what they wanted, even Emily, much to the fury of my aunt. Then it happens. My uncle raises the flag. Then my aunt puts it down. My uncle puts it back up, and my aunt takes it back down. Up and down, up and down. I see the bread guy hovering at the edge of the table, waiting. The flag goes up and he rushes in to drop off the new basket before it can go back down. My aunt grabs the basket and throws it at the kid that delivered it. To save time in typing, every time she speaks, the flag goes down. The rest of the time it goes up. She says, "You don't need any more bread." "But I want more." "I said no." "I'm an adult. I can eat more bread if I want." "No, you can't." "Why? Just tell me why I can't have more bread." "Because I said so. You weren't listening to me." "I'm hungry and I want more bread." "You wouldn't be if you had ordered the veal." "Yes, I would. I always am, but you never let me have more bread. Tonight I get more." I say, "I want more bread too." "No, you've had enough." "No, I really think I want more." She says, "Well, you're wrong. You seem upset." "That's because you people aren't listening to me." He's like, "Yes, we are. We just don't care. We want more bread." My dad, who's trying not to laugh, says to me, "You aren't helping." I say, "I think you want more bread too." At this point, the whole place is watching our table and the battle over the flag. I'm fairly sure there were people taking bets to see who would win. In the middle of the confusion, a nice lady sitting at the other table nearest Emily tapped her and slipped her their fresh bread basket to her. She took a roll and slipped it to me. I took one and slipped it to my father, then it went to my mother, who, after taking a roll for herself, slipped one onto my uncle's plate. My aunt saw it and grabbed for it, but my uncle was faster. He shoved the whole thing in his mouth at once. It was a big roll. The waitress approached the table to check to see if we needed anything. Xanax, unfortunately, was not on the menu, and my aunt demanded she bring the check. I say, "I want dessert, chocolate cake." My uncle says, "Sounds great, I'll have some." Emily says, "Me too." Dad says, "I'll have the apple pie." Mom says, "I'll have the cheesecake. Bring cheesecake for Aunt. She loves cheesecake." She says, "No, we are not having dessert. We're getting the check and leaving now." My dad says, "No, we aren't." "Well, I'm leaving. You can all walk home." He says, "I drove. It's our car." "I know. Give me the keys." He says, "Nope." "You have to give me the keys. I live here. You're just visiting." He says, "Yeah, but I'm visiting with my family in our car." He says, "It's my state." He says, "I don't care. It's my car and you can't have it. You're a terrible driver anyway." "No, I'm not." "You drive the wrong way on the freeway." "No, I don't. It's the other cars going the wrong way." "You get lost in your own neighborhood." "Not always." "Well, you're not driving my car." "Yes, I am." "No, you aren't." That, ladies and gentlemen, continued while we ate dessert, paid the check, as well as walked to the car, and for the entire trip back to their house, my father drove. We dropped them off and went back to our hotel room. My dad says, "Has your sister always been this crazy?" My mom says, "No, it started when she was about 3. "What happened?" She started speaking in complete sentences. "Ah. Well, what do you expect? When you're visiting somebody else's state, they get to decide what you eat." I mean, I don't know where that logic comes from, but I mean, I guess it might make sense to some people. Alright, now we've got, "I got fired" to great applause. So in the world of big box stores, there are those who shop normally and those who perpetrate Karen levels of misdirected spite. The following names and identities have been changed to protect the innocent and Karens. These are their stories. So this happened in 2010, around summertime. I was at a big box store to get some groceries and a few odds and ends for myself and my wife. We were on the soda aisle, and my wife wanted some store-branded sodas, which happened to be on the top shelf. So I, being 6'2", have the best build for reaching high shelves. So I promptly grabbed the sodas in question and started to move on. Before leaving the aisle, a nice elderly lady came in one of those mobility carts, approached us from behind. So the nice old lady says, "Sir?" I knew that we, my wife and I, were the only people in the aisle at the moment, so I turned around. I said, "Yes, ma'am?" "I know you don't work here, but might I ask, you can help a little old thing like me reach the pistachios on that shelf?" I say, "Oh, sure. I love helping people, and I have a soft spot for the elderly, as I have volunteered in a few local nursing homes in my youth." I get the pistachios and hand them down to her. She says, "Thank you, dear. Actually," she turns to my wife, "would you mind if I steal him for a little bit to get some other things?" She says, "I don't mind," she said, smiling. Then she headed off the aisle for something else we were getting, so she didn't hear anything that happened after this. This ended up turning into helping her for the next few minutes, getting things off of high shelves until she got the things she needed. She says, "Thank you so much. Here, I know it's not much, but you have been a good helper." She proceeded to hand me a small wad of $1 bills. I tried to politely decline, but she was so insistent, so I went along with it. She says, "You have a good day now." She then tootled off down the main aisle towards the registers. I had a nice feeling in my heart and a small wad of uncounted cash in my pocket that wasn't there a few seconds ago. I was feeling good. I went back to the soda aisle to retrace steps to find my wife when I heard an exasperated sigh while passing an Indonesian woman. She then, in a rather offended tone, almost yelled at me. Enter Indonesian Karen, stage right. She says, "Excuse me." I stop and turn to her. Before I get a word out, she points to one of the shelves close to the floor. She says, "I have tried to get you noticed, so I yelled to get it." I say, "Excuse me?" At this point, I'm perplexed. "I need you to go back and get me some Diet Dr. Pepper Cherry 24-pack. This one has been damaged and is no good." So I follow her outstretched finger and see the case of soda in question. It looked like someone had opened it and treated themselves to a couple beverages within. I then chuckle a little. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I don't work here. I'm not even dressed the same as the employees. I was wearing a black shirt and black cargo pants. The workers in this big box store wear blue polo shirts with a name tag and khaki slacks. I'm sure you can flag one down. I know one is nearby, and she cuts me off. No, I don't want excuse. You need to get me Diet Dr. Pepper Cherry 24-pack right now, or it will bad for you. She said this while jabbing her finger towards the pack of soda. I say, ma'am, I'm trying to explain. I don't work here, so I can't go in the back to get you anything. If I do, it would be breaking the law. I start to move to the other end of the aisle. I can go find someone to help you, though. No! She is shaking and stamping her foot with every word now. You need to go back and get me Diet Dr. Pepper Cherry 24-pack now. I roll my eyes and started to walk away, and she yells this string of words, I kid you not, in quick succession. Fine, I will get manager and fire you. She then storms out of the aisle. Now, she had been yelling loud enough to draw a crowd of people who watched like it was an episode of Jerry Springer. I almost got to the end of the aisle when I hear her again. By the by, she was gone for a span of 3 seconds. She says, there he is, fire that man. This Karen had her hand wrapped around the wrist of the manager, in his nice blue polo shirt and khaki slacks, finger pointed at me. I'm thinking, really? The manager says, ma'am, I can't fire him. He doesn't work for the store. The Karen then turns her ire on the manager. She says, no, I asked for him to go to back and get me Diet Dr. Pepper Cherry 24-pack, and he is rude in not doing it. You need to fire him now. The manager was at a loss. The Karen was not relenting, and he gave me a look like a stuck puppy. I then knew that this would either end very well or very badly, but I made my decision. I saw that there was now a large group of people watching. I'm pretty sure if I wanted to, I would make a killing on selling popcorn. Anywho, I gestured towards the manager, the all-too-well-known, go ahead, get it over with, gesture. The manager, to his credit, gave the best performance I've seen in my life. He removed the Karen's hand from his arm and took 3 steps forward, planting his right foot firmly and poked me in the chest. Says, you think you can't serve a customer? You are fired! He punctuated each of the last 3 words with another jab to the chest. He was only poking me enough to make my shirt move. I stared him down before yelling to his face, you can't fire me, I quit! I then turned around and stomped off down the aisle, to the sudden erupted applause and cheering. I smiled. I walked about 6 aisles down and find my wife looking perplexed. She says, what was going on over there? Where have you been? She then changes her tone to an almost too quiet for me to hear murderous tone. What did you do? So me, smiling, I'll let you know when we get to the car. Let's get to the registers and get going. I told her the whole story later, several years after the fact. I became friends with the manager before he got promoted and moved to a different store. And the Indonesian Karen is probably still a Karen, making random shoppers' time at big box stores hell while she wants a soda. Man, that's awesome when everyone just plays along with the whole thing. This next story is one that my uncle told me a while ago. So about 30 years ago, back when I was about 13, in middle school, I was a bit of a troublemaker. One day, while in school, there was going to be some sort of assembly or event that I really did not want to be a part of. I discussed with some friends and decided that I was going to call my mom and tell her that I was sick, and try to go home early. So I go down to the office and tell them that I don't feel good, and that I need to call my mom. They agree to let me use the phone, and I go ahead with it. My mom agrees to pick me up, so I just wait for her in the office. She picks me up and we start driving home. She asks, so you aren't feeling well today? I respond with, yeah, somebody punched me in the stomach. Big mistake, I should have just stayed quiet. She says, what? And turns the car around. She drives us back to the school and talks to the people there at the office. They asked me who the kid was that punched me, and I just said, I don't know his name. Then, with my mom and the principal with me, they took me around the school, going to each classroom, trying to get me to point out who it was that punched me. Of course, there was no actual suspect, so I had to just endure going through each classroom and humiliate myself. The whole deal ended up taking so long that I got home later than if I had just stuck around. I never actually told my mom that it was made up until I moved out as an adult. Man, you should have just kept your mouth shut, or just not made up the story. So when my sister was going through her Helen Keller fan phase, she would fake sign language like a demented mime. Usually she would grab your hand and wiggle her fingers around in your palms, making you her erstwhile Annie Sullivan. If she could catch you, she would revert to waving her arms around as her fingers tootled a couple of invisible flutes. She looked ridiculous, of course. At the height of my sister's fake blind insanity, our family went to see an authentic old steam engine train that was passing through town. A TV crew were there to do a story for the 6 o'clock news, and somehow decided to interview me, a 10-year-old kid. I don't remember what I said, but the whole family and our neighbors gathered in front of the TV that evening to see the big moment. And there she was, right behind me, fingers flashing in fake sign language interpretation. I have no idea what those news people were thinking, airing a spectacle like that. Maybe they couldn't tell? Yeah, 'cause we've all been through that old Helen Keller phase. Some of these stories came from Ask Reddit videos, so they're a bit shorter and might be missing a bit of context. Next we've got, Entitled Mom Thought I Was a Hacker. So when I was 18, I was a live-in babysitter in the US. I'm from Europe, by the way. I thought it was going to be a cool way to experience life in America, living with an American family while getting some pocket money for babysitting 6 hours a day. This was 2002, and the only way to use internet in that house was to use the entitled mom's desktop computer in her office. I had friends and family to send a few emails to, so I just asked her if I could use the internet and she'd let me in her office. I used my Hotmail. I also noticed that their MSM client automatically logged in when you started the computer. It said something like, "You're successfully logged in as Kim blank," or whatever the standard MSM notification was at the time. Now, Kim was their previous nanny from Australia. I thought to myself, it looks like Kim never logged out of her MSM account. This must be still erroneously signed in because she left a year ago. So I logged out of her account, because I'm clearly not going to use hers, and logged myself in. Later that day, the entitled mom comes over to me and asks what I have done to her computer. Her kid can no longer use the email program. I just told her how it was. I logged in using my account, but it would be no problem for them, as I've now logged out and they can simply use their username and password to log in again. She didn't seem to understand a word I was saying. She involves her husband and the upset child who wanted to go online, and once again, I try to explain what I did. I asked the husband, "Did you have an email address? If you have trouble remembering your password, there are steps you can take." He answered that he didn't know what his email address was. Him and the child would just turn on the computer and write emails. That's when I realized, for all that time, they'd been using Kim's account to send and receive emails. I have no idea how Kim didn't notice that. I emailed her about it later and she thanked me for saving the privacy of her account. In the meantime, I was given bad stares and attitude, until they called my agency's supervisor and counselor. She asked me why I messed with her computer. I tried to explain that, again, I used my email account, then logged out. But she didn't get it either. I mean, I know that a lot of 40 to 50-year-olds in 2002 weren't exactly familiar with the internet yet, but not to that extent. For this and for other reasons, I left the program. It wasn't as fun as I expected, and entitled mom was a real pain to deal with, so I was very happy to go home early. I spent the week prior to my departure at the supervisor's house sleeping on a couch. The program got me a ticket back home, and I had to contact my family to let them know when I was supposed to fly and where to meet. But guess what? I wasn't allowed to call internationally, and I wasn't allowed to use the computer, because they wouldn't trust me. I had the supervisor's 10-year-old daughter copy a handwritten message to my family and send it from her email address. Just whatever. 2002, where all it took to be a hacker was to sign into your own email address. By those standards, everyone watching YouTube are probably hackers. So in May of 2000, passing through Norwood, Louisiana with a friend, at around 2 in the afternoon, we stopped to gas up and grab some snacks at the most podunk gas station known to man. A young man, extremely agitated, comes in with the frustrated gestures and angrily shouts and gestures at the cashier with an accent that is beyond region, beyond stereotyping, beyond anything I have ever heard before. "Where the gosh darn Wally melons at?" At the top of his lungs, approaching hysteria and tears. I guess sometimes you just really need those Wally melons. This is one of my old favorites. So back in the summer of 2008, I was 14 years old. My dad wants me to get a summer job. I was like, man, how am I supposed to do that at 14? Pretty sure that's illegal. Anyways, I asked my neighbor if I could dog sit while they're on vacation. This is all just to please my dad. I definitely don't want to do this. So their dog is as old as me. He's 14. He's this big, giant Labrador. The thing looks like it's 3 steps from death's door. So 3 days into their vacation, I unlocked the door to their apartment. It's freaking dead. I just called Jim and asked what to do with it. He says to take it to the vet, who's just down like 4 blocks. The vet. For a dead dog. I tell him how idiotic that sounds. They anticipated it and made plans to get it cremated. The question is, how do I get a big freaking lab down 6 flights of stairs and 4 blocks down the street without having people see me carrying this dead dog? I don't have a car or a license, and Jim just tells me to put it in his daughter's luggage that was left behind. So I stuff this poop-covered dog into the suitcase, and I realize that it has a broken set of wheels. So I'm carrying this thing down the stairs. It's super heavy for my 14-year-old body. I get to the 3rd floor, and some dude bro asks if I need help. I don't want him to question the luggage, or see the dead dog if it opens or something. He insists and helps me carry it down. He asks what's in it. I make up some BS that it's electronics, some sort of speaker system. Those are heavy, right? Well, we get to the 1st floor. He lifts it up on his shoulder and bolts. I had to call Jim and explain that his pink luggage and dead dog got stolen because some guy thought it was speakers. I can't even imagine his face when he opened that. Well, you're not playing music on those. So now we've got don't use that mute button. So I worked with this guy for almost 3 years. He was a really great guy, funny, experienced, and even he brought in donuts for us all once a week. I learned a lot from this dude. I don't think I would have made it a year if not for him. I seriously thought he should be the trainer, but he had one bad habit. He used to use the mute button to curse customers out. I can understand why. Working in cable is hard. You get some very bad calls, like constantly. They range from stupidity and annoying and even downright horrible. I told him time and time again, dude, don't use the mute button to curse people out. If you have to use it, then just use it to breathe. You can curse people out on your break at lunch. Dude, we all talk about it anyway at lunch like group therapy, for crying out loud. But nope, he would constantly use it. For example, I would hear him go, yes ma'am, your bill is $300. Pause. Because you missed your payment for the past 2 months, ma'am. And then on mute, oh my gosh, what a C word. Dude, can you believe this? This lady doesn't pay her bills for 2 months and she wants us to waive it. What the F? And then off mute, yes ma'am, I understand. Then one day I witnessed this. He does his intro. Yes sir, I understand that you're not happy about your bill. And then pause. Well sir, you've made the full payment on your account for the past 3 months. You only deposited $69 and your bill is $150. Yes, well unfortunately this is the reason why it's so high. And then on mute. Dude, can you believe this mother effer? He pays $60 for 3 months on his bill and wonders why it's so friggin' high. What a moron. And then his face goes white. Yes, sir, I know. I'm very sorry. I apologize, sir. From the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry. Supervisor? Yes, sir. I never heard from him again. Don't use that mute button, folks. Don't use that mute button. You're bound to mess it up one of these times. Man, I feel like I need an intermission right now. I hope my voice makes it through this whole thing. Now I've got, do I look like an idiot? So a few years ago, I worked in the airport in an electronics store. The store was massive, so each salesperson had their own department, and we didn't mingle with other departments. Back then, I was only 22 and working in digital cameras department. This was over 12 years ago, by the way, just to put you guys into perspective. Smartphones were just beginning to show up, and in no way were they as popular as they are today. One day, on a relatively non-busy day, me and 3 of my friends are waiting for clients to come into the store. It was between flights, so the airport was pretty empty, and we had some free time. A young woman around the age of 24 or 25 walks in and slams an automatic translator device on the counter right in front of me. The conversation is going something along these lines. She says, hello, I bought this last year when I flew abroad, and it never worked from the moment I bought it. I want to get a refund or something to fix it. I say, ma'am, this is a photography stand. I can't help you with this, and even if it was my department, we don't do customer support in the airport. You can try contacting our customer support and they will help you when you get back home. Says, no, that's not good enough. I paid a lot of money for it and it never worked. I want you to fix it now or replace it. I say, but I don't know how to fix it and we can't just replace it. Well, that's your issue. I want you to fix this now. I say, okay, what's the problem? Normally I don't take crap from people. Even at work, I will put them in their place, even if it means to lose a sale. My managers are always okay with it as long as I'm being professional. But this was just when I started working, so I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself, and I also was extremely bored at work. She says, it never turned on. Not once from the moment I bought it. I say, mind if I take a look? She says, go ahead, but it won't work, I'm telling you. So I take the translator device and press the on button. Do you honestly think I've never tried to press on? What do I look like, an idiot? I say, what? No, I just tried it. I continue to examine it, pressing the on button a couple more times and it's not doing anything. I turn the device over and open the battery chamber. She says, do I look like an idiot who won't put batteries inside? She screams from the top of her lungs. Do you treat all your clients this way, or is it because I'm a girl? I say, ma'am, please relax. I never said you're stupid or anything. I just want to examine this product. She says, this is a waste of time. Just replace it. It's not working. I pull out all 3 batteries and look inside. I then turn the batteries around and put them back in, facing the way it's shown in the battery chamber. I close the chamber and press on. The device turns on. I place the working device on the counter right in front of her. She looks at it with horror. No one at the counter is saying a word. Then I finally break the silence after like 30 seconds. I say, well, it's working now. She says, I stand there in silence, just smiling. She says, you guys will make fun of me once I go away, aren't you? I say, oh yes, definitely. So if you don't mind, I'm having a really hard time trying to keep the laughter inside. She took her item and started walking, and I just busted out laughing. She was still in the store and started walking a bit faster to get out. Hey, we all feel a little dumb sometimes. So I was at my grandparents' house for the 4th of July, watching fireworks and stuff. After fireworks, my grandma wanted to put people in the spirit of America. The only CD she owns is Whitney Houston's version of God Bless America. She tries to put it in some tiny boombox they own. It takes half an hour to make it work. She plays it on full blast in the living room, decides that it's not loud enough, and starts walking around the house with the boombox over her head. She walks outside so people on the street can hear, and then she walks out the front door and the power cord comes under tension, ripping the boombox out of her hands. It hits the bricks and shatters into a million pieces. She calls me over. Hey, you're an engineer, you can fix this, right? No. Well, I guess you're not a very good engineer then. Only the best engineers can take a bunch of broken pieces of a radio and just put it back together. Now we've got, send money to claim inheritance? You got it. Okay, so all of you probably experienced the classic Nigerian prince inheritance scam. This is where you will usually be asked to send money, usually described as a fee, to be able to claim an even bigger sum of money. One day I decided to have some revenge when I received one of these calls. The scammer was giving a spiel about how a long-lost relative of mine had died, and I was the one to inherit the millions that was left solely to me. Playing along, I acted very excited and asked what needed to be done on my end. He said this legal firm needed a payment of £5,000 in order for the relevant paperwork to be processed. This is where I had the bright idea. I said to him that I did not have £5,000 in cash on hand, but I do, however, have a load of new electronics come in for my business that I could send to be sold. He jumped at the opportunity. So I went into my shed and started wrapping up a broken washing machine I had. I had also filled the drum with multiple yellow pages to give it even more weight. When I organized a special courier to come pick up the massive parcel, I said that the delivery fee would be paid at full on the other end, with the delivery fee totaling over £500. I paid a small deposit and off the package went. A few weeks later, I got confirmation that the parcel had been picked up and the full invoice paid on collection. I wish I could have seen the scammer's face when he opened it. Man, this is a level of scamming the scammer that even the hoax hotel would be jealous of. So now we've got, I wasn't working. Okay, so this happened at least 2 or 3 years ago. I used to work as a cashier at a supermarket in my hometown. The place had a good amount of regulars and they were genuinely friendly. I didn't know it at the time, but apparently I was a favorite due to the fact that I tried to be as friendly and polite as possible while dying inside. So I was at the mall with my best friend, which is far away from my place of work, and I was not representing the supermarket in any way. While in a store, I think it was like a clothes store or something, this crazy lady sees me and recognizes me from the supermarket. She was regular, and comes over to me and starts making conversation. I don't remember what was said at all, but apparently I said more than one curse word. So she left, and I had a great day with my friend and didn't think anything of it. I go to work the next day and start work as usual. It's close to close, and it's just me and my coworker. The store is dead, so my coworker and I start to make conversation. He says, "So you went to the mall the other day?" I say, "Yeah, how'd you know?" He says, "Well, a customer, the crazy lady, came in late the other day and demanded to talk to the manager. When they came out, they started complaining about you swearing at them and being unprofessional. The manager asked when this happened as you didn't work that day, and the crazy lady said it was at the mall. The manager looked like they were trying to hold back laughter, tells them that when I'm not at work, I can act like anyone else and have no obligations to be polite when I'm not in uniform, on the clock or on store grounds. The crazy lady was pissed and left. The manager then started to laugh their butt off. I was dying of laughter at this point, and the crazy lady either never came back to the store or never came through my line again. Hey, when you're a cashier, you're basically a public official. You gotta put on a good appearance wherever you go. This one is, you have the same name? Change it. So in high school, I was in a pretty big class of 32 children, and for some reason the school administration dumped a bunch of people with the same name in my class. We had 3 Marys, 2 Daves, and 4 Marks. The guys were all joking around, saying stuff like, "Hey Mark, how was your day?" "It was great, Mark. How about you, Mark?" "Yeah, Mark, it was good, probably better than Mark's day." And that day went on and on. The Marys, on the other hand, kept fighting about who should be called just Mary, and who should be referred to as their surname. After a few weeks of fighting, one of them called their mom to the school to persuade the other girls to back down. I don't remember the exact conversation, but the mother was talking to 2 14-year-old girls about legally changing their names. How easy it was, what awesome names they could choose, etc. The fighting finally stopped when the teachers decided that for our class, when checking attendance, they would call out everyone's complete name. Why they didn't do that sooner is beyond me. The whole story was pretty insane, and I don't blame you for not believing it. What mother would try to talk her daughter's classmates into changing their names officially? Oh, come on, you just go and legally change it back when the semester ends. Alright, here's another pretty good one called, "Today I effed up by taking LSD and pretending to be French for 10 months. So about 11 months ago, I moved into a new house as a temporary sort of thing until I could get the money together to sort something out properly. I was hoping to have already moved out by this point. On my second day after I'd finished unpacking, I decided to break the house in with a nice acid trip. I brought some with me that I'd recently bought, but not had the chance to use yet. Things were going well with the trip, but then it seemed to be getting really intense, and I quickly realized that the taps were much stronger than I had been told they were. And I thought that being locked up in an unfamiliar house wasn't helping me relax. So I figured the best thing to do to relax would be to go for a stroll, because I was starting to get pretty overwhelmed at that point. So I left the house to start my walk, and my next door neighbor happened to just be arriving at the same time. It's a street of tightly packed terraced houses, so the next door is about 1 meter away from mine. I'd not met anybody on my street yet, and didn't realize this was a friendly, tight-knit community where people talk to each other. She said something along the lines of, "Hello, nice to meet you. My name is blank. Are you new to the area?" So basically, I do this thing sometimes when people try to sell me things on the street, where I pretend I can't speak English. I remember a few words from GCSE French, so I just say some nonsense sentence, and then people usually leave me alone. In the state I was in, this conversation seemed like it would be way too intense for me, and French just sort of came to me as my default response to the situation. My exact words were, Je voudrais une blah blah blah, one of my favorite lines to use, and I shrugged my shoulders a bit with a weak smile. She pretty much just left me to it, and after that I got on my way. I did my walk and got home about 2 hours later. I was tripping majorly, so the walk ended up taking a lot longer than it needed to. When I got home, though, my next door neighbor was stood in her doorway talking to another neighbor, who was stood outside. I tried to keep my head down because I couldn't handle any more human interaction, but she waved at me and just said, "Bonjour." So I instinctively returned the bonjour and got inside my house as fast as possible. When I got in, I started freaking out straight away because I realized that I'd just become French, and now 2 of the neighbors think I can't speak any English. The next day, when I woke up, I realized the best thing I could do, as an Englishman, was just live with the lie for the rest of my short stay in this house to avoid the excruciating embarrassment of having to pretend to be French for seemingly no reason. So fast forward 10 months, I still live here, and at this point I'm in deep. My life on the street is a web of lies. I've perfected my French accent, and over the course of 10 months, French me has learnt a decent amount of English, so he can hold a disjointed conversation. I've gotten to know the neighborhood pretty well, and I was the nice, quirky French guy on the street. I didn't let the lie slip ever, because every day and every conversation I had just meant that it would be even worse if anyone ever discovered I wasn't French. If I had friends come over, I didn't have that many, so it wasn't too bad. They knew to never speak to any neighbors because of my strange situation. Most of them found it amusing, at least. Things were going okay, and I wasn't too worried about being exposed anymore, because I'd gotten so used to it. I'm not home that much, and when I am, I rarely leave the house for any reason, so I only had to do it maybe 5 minutes a day when I was out on the street. If anything, it was a nice way to spice up my day when I got to take on my French persona. French me somehow had better social skills than the real me, even if his English was a bit limited. But then there was a day when it all came crashing down. I was walking to my car and saw one of my neighbors coming towards me from the opposite direction, with someone else near to her that I didn't recognize. She stopped to say hi, as she normally does, and then she says to her friend, "This is my friend, the guy I was telling you about." You might be able to see where this is going. Her friend hits me with a question in French that I didn't understand a word of, and I knew he was actually French straight away because his accent was way better than mine. I didn't know what to do, and I just froze. Every second that went past just made it so much more painful, and after way too long of a pause, I just decided I had to come clean. I told her I wasn't actually French and couldn't speak French, and then I tried to play it off like some kind of practical joke I'd been doing on everyone. Nobody was buying that. I fast walked straight to my car and then let embarrassment just swallow me for a while. I haven't spoken to any of my neighbors since, some of which I'd struck up friendly conversation with over those 10 months. I make sure no one is around now whenever I leave the house. And I do a loop around the block in my car if any of my neighbors are walking down the street when I get home, so that I never have to come in contact with them. Every time I think about that day I was discovered, the embarrassment physically hurts me. Maybe you should have just pretended to be an acid stoner, like you actually were. At least that might have saved you a little bit of embarrassment. Alright, now we've got, entitled person wants their ice only at the bottom of their drink. So talking with my sisters about insane customers just reminded me of this story. This happened about a year ago when I used to work at Starbucks. So I'm at the front, working at the cash register, and enter entitled person. I say, "Hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get for you today?" Can I get a Tazo iced passion tea with the ice on the bottom?" I say, "Sure. Wait, I'm sorry, what?" "I want an iced tea with all the ice on the bottom." I say, I'm sorry, but that's not possible." "Excuse me? Why not?" Well, the low density of ice makes it so that it floats in liquid, so I can't really make it stay at the bottom. I can fill the entire cup with ice so that there's some at the bottom." "No, I don't want that much ice. I just want it at the bottom." I say, I can't guarantee that it will stay at the bottom, but I can put it there." So they're super huffy, clearly annoyed by my incompetence. Okay, whatever. I make the drink, I put it on the ready counter, and the ice floats right to the top of the drink like a boss. Man, it's such a simple customer request. Why can't you just do whatever they say? Is everybody still here? We're on to story number 26 now. Called, "Pass My Student Right Now." So, I'm a high school culinary arts teacher. Rewind to Friday, the following exchange happened in my 3rd hour class. So a student comes and says, "Miss, why are you giving me an F?" I say, "Because you've turned in 3 out of 27 assignments." He says, "But miss, I got a game this weekend and now you made me ineligible." I say, "I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe turn in some work?" "Well, can't I just go wash some dishes or something?" I say, "No." The kid stomps off. Now, that's a common exchange for a teacher during sports season. I thought nothing of it, until this morning. I checked my email and saw this subject, concern about entitled kid's grade. The original email was nice enough. Why is the kid failing, etc. So I emailed back the parent with the same response I gave the kid, and then crap got real. I received a series of emails from the parent. Basically, "How dare you? Don't you know who he is? The basketball team needs him. Change his grade right now." I email back. I say, no, I can set a meeting with the coach and principal if you like. They say, no, you're just a cooking teacher. Do as you're told. Change his grade now. It's not like he will ever need this stuff you teach anyway. I say, sorry, I'll help him after school with his work if you'd like, but I'm not changing his grade with no work. They say, listen, change his grade now, or we will tell everyone you've been trying to sexually assault him. It was at this point that she must have realized her truly epic mistake. This was my school email, and all of them are archived so they can be seen by the public with a simple request. But before I could even reply to that one, I got this. And just so you know, my husband is a professional hacker for the government, and these emails will all be gone in minutes. Change the grade or else. So I took my stack of newly printed emails down to my boss, like just a few minutes ago. I can't wait to see what happens next. Wait, so he's a government hacker, meaning he can log into a government email address? Alright, now we've got Entitled Mom tries to steal a mountain. So this happened many years ago during winter. My fiance and me went to go to a mountain with a cable car. When we park our car at the parking lot, a woman, an entitled mother, comes up to us yelling that we're not allowed to park there. She bought the parking lot. Since we knew the parking lot was owned by the city, we didn't care, and we told her that she can call the police if she wants. Then we walked to the valley station with our sledges. So we see and hear her trying to pull the same thing with other people. At the valley station, we buy our tickets and went to wait for the cable car, which always takes about 15 minutes. One goes up and one goes down the mountain. The entitled mother rushes to the station with her kids. When the older lady from the station tells her that she needs to buy tickets, the entitled mother gets angry and yells at the ticket lady. Something like this. I just bought the whole mountain and this station. I also bought the cable railway. You're all my employees, and now get rid of all these people here on my private property. The ticket seller lady had a, I'm too old for this crap, look on her face and just went back to selling tickets. The entitled mother still screams at everyone waiting for the cable car to get rid of. The cable car arrives. The entitled mom pushes her children into it and blocks this entry. Now, usually one cable car fits about 20 to 30 people, with skis and sledges. She stops everyone else from entering the car and just yells to the ticket lady to start the cable car. The ticket lady still has her, I'm too old for this crap, look on her face, and tells her that she needs to buy a ticket and make space for other people, especially ones who actually bought tickets. The entitled mom doesn't move a single inch and continues to yell. Now, I know that you can't start a cable car with an open door, and thus I don't expect anything to happen. And nothing happened. After a few minutes, 2 cops showed up and removed the entitled mother and her kids from the cable car. The entitled mom's still yelling that she bought the freaking parking lot. She bought the freaking valley station. She bought the freaking mountain. I guess she wanted her kids to experience empty tracks for a while. Didn't work out as she expected. Now that's an excuse that I have not heard very many times from these entitled people. Alright, this next one is an old classic called Entitled Parent Wants to Know What I'm Doing in My Own Home and then demands I stop so I can do an errand for her in the morning. So a quick summary, Crazy Pants was my incredibly nosy and entitled neighbor with 2 adult children who were spoilt and greedy. This woman seriously believed she was in charge of everyone in my street. A little background for this. Years ago, I moved back home to help my mom look after my dad as she was struggling. My dad had multiple conditions, angina, diabetes, and arthritis amongst them. Then sadly, my mom passed away, so Dad was completely on his own. My dad could fill a subreddit all on his own with stories he has, as he has a foul mouth and is known for being a complete bastard to people who annoy him. You'll see this later. But he can't get around like he used to, and relies on me to keep him out of trouble and keep things ticking. Thankfully, because my job is from home, I can look after him. Now, sometimes the people I work for are based in other countries, so when I talk to them online, it can be late at night or early in the morning because of time difference. So Crazy Pants' children do not live with her. The daughter doesn't work, while the son owns some property near us and rents it out. They are very well off and both married into money. Meanwhile, I don't get a lot of free time because I work, I'm a caregiver for the grumpiest yet somehow lovable git on the planet, and I have my own chronic illness on top. Now to the main story. I had just been talking with a client. It was about 2 in the morning and I was downstairs. The living room light was of course on because I'm not an owl. I was typing up something when there was a banging on the door. I was worried, as we had in the past had drunks at the door mistake our house for some friend's place, and you never know what they may do. I open it carefully, and there's Crazy Pants. You can guess the key here. She says, "Excuse me, why are you awake?" I say, "Sorry?" She says, "I want to know why you're awake." I say, did we wake you or something?" There's no noise being made here, and there was no way she could have seen our light without leaving the house. In fact, she would often step out and do late-night inspections of the street like she was looking for contraband. She says, "I don't think you should be up this late. Why are you up?" I say, "I don't think it's any of your business, but since you were asked so sweetly, I'm working." She says, "But it's 2 a.m. I say, "And it's my home. Are we now just pointing out random facts? Because this game is boring me." She says, "You should be asleep." I say, "And yet, here you are, wide awake. Isn't it a miracle? We should form a club." She says, "I'm supposed to be going to the hairdresser's at 10 a.m., and I don't want you too tired." Now this has me super confused, and I don't know how to respond for a few moments. I say, excuse me? What does your hair appointment have to do with me? Well, I was going to get you to drive me to it. My son and daughter have important things to do, and you already do a lot for that very rude man. The least you can do as a neighbor is give me a lift. I say, what the? Are you completely off your rocker? She says, what's the problem? You do stuff like that for your father all the time. I say, I would also like to point out that I don't drive, let alone own a car, and even if I was up for letting you sit on the handlebars of my bike, why would I be taking you to the hairdresser? You have a daughter and a son with multiple fancy cars. Get one of them to take you, or get a taxi, and stop bothering me over what I do in my own home. But they work. I can't bother them. You are home all day. I say, I work from home, like I was doing before you banged on the door. Now please go away. It was at this point I discovered my dad had been woken up and was now leaning out the bedroom window, listening to the whole thing. He says, crazy pants, why don't you mind your own freaking business and piss off? She scurries away upon the sight of Grumpy Dad's man nipples, and I go back inside. The next day, the daughter arrived to take the mother dearest to the hairdresser. I was coming out to walk the dog and got death stares from them both. It was at this point my dad opens the living room window and shouted at the crazy pants, and get your friggin' mustache waxed. Thanks for making it less awkward, Dad. Oh, crazy pants. I actually made an entire video just off of crazy pants stories a while back. Alright, this one is from an old video called Mailbox Basher Revenge. So fresh out of high school, I worked with an older gentleman at an appliance repair shop. He had a problem with someone driving through his sleepy rural subdivision at night and running over mailboxes. There were no curbs or ditches, so the vandals could easily just drive down the side of the road and hit the mailboxes square on with the front bumper. This was happening regularly and before the age of cheap security cameras. Catching them wasn't possible without physically sitting outside and waiting. Being a rural county, the sheriff department had better things to do. After replacing his mailbox several times, it was time for drastic measures. He went to a local machine shop and bought an 8-foot length of rusty 3-inch solid shaft stock out of the scrap pile, pulled the broken 4x4 post out of the ground, and sank his shaft 5 foot deep into a 12-inch diameter hole, filled with concrete. A plate was welded to the top for mounting the mailbox. Then, a friend who was a finished carpenter clad the whole thing in wood to make it look like an ordinary mailbox post. All was quiet for a couple weeks, but then one Sunday morning, my friend gets up and walks out to get the paper, and sees wood shards, grill, and headlight pieces surrounding the still standing mailbox with antifreeze soaking into the dirt. The moron had hit the previous 6 mailboxes, leading up to his as well. Never caught the vandal, but we know that they were driving a Volvo, and it never happened again. I would think that just driving through a bunch of mailboxes would automatically cause a lot of damage to your car. Alright, next up we've got, today I effed up by ordering food online and essentially setting a restaurant on fire with the help of the B-movie script. Okay guys, gonna make it short. This happened like a year ago, but I just remembered it and wanted to share. It was around noon, I was feeling hungry, so I headed to my country's version of Uber Eats to order some nice lunch. Found the food I liked, proceeded to check out, and noticed that the box where you can leave some message for the restaurant had no limit for characters. So I got an idea, to prank the restaurant by copy-pasting the entire B-movie script there, so it will get printed on the receipt. And that's where the F-up happened. A few minutes after I sent the order, I got a message it was cancelled. Okay, no big deal, that might happen. So I wanted to order some food somewhere else, when I noticed some blackish smoke in the distance. It wasn't that far away, but was studying and didn't want to leave my spot in the library. Well, shortly after, also like 2 fire trucks passed by, heading the restaurant's direction. The next day I read the local newspaper. The exact restaurant caught fire because of some cash register malfunction. So TLDR, I ordered some food online and set a restaurant on fire by posting the B-movie script into the order note box. Man, that is one sad system they got there. Alright, this one's called Entitled Lady Tells My Supervisor to F Off. So this is a relatively short story, so I'll try to make it interesting. For backstory, this occurred during my closing shift at my place of work in fast food, and was during a brief spurt in customer numbers. So I'm trying to clean some trays between orders, and I notice a lady in a black jacket storming in. Now I just follow my usual routine. I say, hello, is this going to be for here or to go? She says, I was just through your drive-thru and I noticed I was charged $15 for my meal. I take a look at the receipt and sure enough, she's right. Only her order had the right price on it. I say, ma'am, the price you paid is correct. You weren't overcharged. You mean to tell me that it's $15 for this meal? I say, yes, I'm sorry, but I can't do anything. I'd like to speak to the manager, please. Being familiar with the subreddit, I knew arguing further would only result in a headache and a held-up line. So I got my supervisor, Ben, to come speak with her. For context, he's seen his fair share of entitled people, and as he's told me, doesn't give even the slightest fraction of a crap when dealing with them. So they are talking about the order. I don't know what was said since I had gone back to washing trays. Eventually I hear her say something, before storming out of the store. Ben later told me that the conversation had gone like this. So what seems to be the problem today? Your employee wasn't very helpful, so I'm hoping you could do what he didn't. Sure, he mentioned something about $15? Yes, my order was way too expensive, and I was hoping to get my money back. Alright, if I might have the bag of food back, please. You mean I can't keep the food? He says, well, we offer refunds, but take the items back so we can mark them down as waste for inventory purposes. So no, you cannot keep the order if you want your refund. He told me that she gained a look of angry frustration. Apparently she had fully expected the manager to be on her side and give her what she wanted. Ben was not doing that. After a brief loop back and forth between them, this happened. He says, I'm sorry ma'am, but there's nothing more I can do. If you want your money back, you'll have to leave the food here. The entitled mom, having finally realized that she wasn't going to win, just said one last thing to Ben before storming out angrily. She says, F off. No joke, she couldn't have her way, so she felt it was appropriate to tell the manager of the store to F off. We still joke about it from time to time. It's not every day you get asked to return the food you just bought. Alright, we're almost through these. So my hamster just died. So I was really drunk. I painstakingly made a vest for my hamster. I tied a string to his vest. On the other end was tied to the blade of a ceiling fan. I didn't measure the string right, so when I turned on the fan, the hamster slams into the wall at Mach speed, so fast that the drywall cracked. In my drunk brain, it was supposed to be a carnival-type ride for him. Good night, sweet prince. Man, some people just shouldn't have pets. Now we've got entitled mom confused about escalators. So I was at the mall yesterday that has 2 floors. There's a middle section of the mall that has an up escalator and a down escalator with a Starbucks store in the middle. However, this store was not that tall, so you can see the escalators on both sides. All I'm going to say is that I seriously hope what I saw was not real, but by the way people were staring, I think it was real. So this entitled mom tries to walk up the down escalator, but can't get up the stairs. I'm about to say something because I think she might be tired or distracted and not realize what the heck is going on. But then she screams for the security guard. Why are these stairs preventing me from going upstairs? She says, that's a down escalator, ma'am. They're used to bring people downstairs. She says, but I want to go up these stairs. He says, well, take the escalator just over there. No more than like 10 to 20 steps. But that's too far. Why don't you just change the direction of the escalator? It's too far to walk. And I have to go to my baby upstairs. He says, where's your child? Upstairs with my husband, duh. Now change the direction of the escalator. He's like, I can't. It won't be that hard. He says, you could just be upstairs by now if you would just use the up escalator. Let's not waste any more time and go up the up escalator. He says, I want to speak to the manager. It's like, he's literally going to say the same thing. So the husband now appears at the top of the escalator, with the kid being neutral, going down the down escalator. He says, honey, what's going on? He says, this man won't change the stairs. He says, what do you mean? The stairs are going the wrong way. He says, there's a set of stairs right there that are going up. And now, as if she sees it for the first time, oh, thank you, honey. She goes to the escalator and rides it up with the child. At this point, I leave, so I don't know what happens afterwards. Escalators can be a difficult concept to grasp. And it wouldn't be a favorite stories video without Puffer Man. So this was during the short period of time where I was taking comment stories that people would just post on my videos. And one of the stories I saw was from Puffer Man. So I'm 20 years old and autism, ADHD, and bipolar. Last week my parents sold my dresser and my collection of Girls Gone Wild VHS tapes, still in the package. Altogether they got $300 and I did not get any of that money. And here comes the revenge. So my parents have this hood from an old car named a Tucker Torpedo. So I sold it for $80. You can probably guess what happened. They got mad and attempted to call the police, and I reminded them of what they did. I'm now living with my friend who is very financially set, and got me and my money on track to having more money than my parents make in a month. Just a side note, don't think you can bully someone just because they have a disability. The only thing I had that I'm proud of is my YouTube channel, and that only has 19 subscribers. Peace for those who read. This is my YouTube channel name is Puffer Man. I would really love for people who read this could subscribe to my channel. After I shared that story the first time, he went from 19 to, I don't know, somewhere like around 1,000 or at least close to it by now. That's pretty much part of this channel's history. Alright, we've only got 2 more stories, we're almost done. This one's called Karen Gets a Milkshake Hat. So background, I worked for a factory at the time, so uniform was whatever you wanted. Jeans and a hoodie were the popular choices. The local retail park has a Mackie D's, which I grab a milkshake from on Friday after work, which I drink while doing my shopping. So I've been in Tesco's grabbing a few bits for dinner that night. I'm walking down an aisle when I see an elderly lady struggling to get something off the top shelf. Being the gentleman I am, I make the offer to get said item off the shelf. And as I do, I hear the throat-clearing sound that is the calling card of entitled people, in Wild Karens, the globe over. She says, "Excuse me, I need some..." "Don't work here, sorry." "I saw you helping that woman." "Yes, because she's too short to reach said items on the shelf." "Well, just help me, I need an item." I say, "Honestly, I don't know, so please go find a member of the staff. I've got my own shopping to deal with." "Oh, for crying out loud, just help me find what I need." The old lady comes over and says, "Just walk away, this won't end well for you." I say, don't worry, I can handle this. Enjoy the rest of your day, my dear, and take it easy. It's at this point I forgot that I'd handed the lady my drink while I got the item off the shelf. Can't remember what it was, but I needed 2 hands. The Karen says, you can shut up, you old bee. I say, whoa, there's no need for that. Now bugger off before I get security. So the old lady walks towards Karen and just dumps my virtually full milkshake on her head with a slam dunk little hop. The Karen at this point is screaming and going mental about how I'll lose my job, etc. Didn't really care what she was saying, as this was before Reddit existed, so I had no real reason to pay attention. Both the old lady and I walk off laughing towards the tills as she says to me, man, B-words like that need a slap. Well, it definitely shut her up, and sorry for your drink, I'll replace it. I say, no worries, love. I got my money's worth out of the drink anyway. That day's choice of drink was chocolate milkshake, so it looked like someone had taken a very liquid dump on her head. As we get to the tills, we part company, and I head towards my car to head home. I did stop to get another milkshake. I saw this Karen several times after that, just out in town or at the Tesco's in question, and she never spoke to me. I pointed her out to everyone who knew the story when they were with me, and it always made us chuckle. Alright, the final story from this super long video, called Parent Tries to Wash Their Crappy Kid Off in a Public Pool. So I'm a lifeguard at my local pool, and this happened when I wasn't working, but I got a very detailed recount the next day from another traumatized lifeguard, so I thought I'd share. So a swimmer came up to one of the lifeguards saying, I think there's been an accident in one of your toilets. We aren't allowed to leave the poolside while on duty, so he radioed for another lifeguard to check it out. And oh my gosh. Somebody had obviously had an awful case of diarrhea. The cubicle was covered in crap, all up the walls, the floors, on the toilet paper dispenser, and in every crevice available. The guy quickly closed the toilet and ran for the manager because he had no idea how to even start cleaning this up. This is where the entitled parent comes in. So lifeguard 1 was watching the pool as he noticed a lady and her kid, maybe 6, walking on the pool side. The most important detail to note is that the kid has crap dripping down his leg. The conversation went as follows. He says, excuse me, your son can't come in the pool like that. She says, oh no, don't worry, I just need to wash him off and then we'll be leaving. He says, what? I'm just gonna dunk him in, just to get the worst off before he changes. He says, no you are not. You can use the shower for that. Oh, but this will be so much quicker and we're here. Plus, the showers are gross. They're not. They get cleaned at least twice a day. He says, pool rules say that if you have diarrhea, you're not allowed to swim. And have you any idea how unsanitary that is? He'd only be in there for a few seconds. What's the big deal? My son isn't going to get anyone sick. At this point, they argued back and forth. All the while, the kid was dripping crap on the floor and looking like death. After a while, the manager had noticed what was happening and came over. The situation was explained, and the entitled mom tried to plead her case to him. He says, so you see, I should be allowed to wash him here. It's communal water. The manager, in a voice that sounded like it was completely over stupid people today, says, no, leave the pool, or I'll be forced to ban you. At this point, the lady finally got the message and left. I guess it just sounded more important coming from a grown man rather than a teenage lifeguard. However, in the end, it wasn't really a win for the lifeguards because they had to clean it all up. One of them threw up because of the smell as well. And by the time she left, another toilet mysteriously had another crap on the floor. But whatever, they haven't come back again. Wow, I can't believe I made it through all that, honestly. How about this? For anybody who watched all the way until the very end, leave a comment that just says, imagine the ending, so that I know you made it this far. I'm honestly just excited that I don't have to read any more stories after this. I'm sure plenty of you watching recognize a handful of these stories, but I doubt that any of you actually recognize every single one of them. But this was kind of just a big grand finale to my storytelling age of this channel, and I'm pretty excited to be moving on to something I'll enjoy more. I don't think I'm going to add like a little cat video clip to the end of this one, but tomorrow's video I'm just probably going to upload a Faye compilation, so we'll see where this channel goes. Thanks to everybody who watched this whole thing and pushed through it. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys next time, but it might be a little bit different, so thanks for watching.